All right, so we learned our first function, which was an ellipse. It's built into JavaScript. We didn't have to make that function. It already existed in JavaScript. And then we learned how to make a variable. In this video, I'm going to show you another function, or two maybe, that we can use in JavaScript. And after that, we'll get to actually animating it. Whoop, whoop. So I drew a UFO. And it's kind of like just on its own in the sky. So we want to make the scene a little better here. So I'm going to draw some buildings on the ground below the UFO. So buildings, for our simple animation here, they're going to be rectangles. So a function built into JavaScript for rectangles is RECT, rect. And it, just like an ellipse, takes in 4 parameters, maybe 5 if you want, but we're going to focus on 4 right now. So just like the ellipse, the first 2 are the x and y coordinates. So like a monitor, x goes across, y goes down. So I'll put a building over 10 pixels. Down, it's going to be near the bottom of the screen. So down like, should be small building, so 300 pixels. And now the width of the rectangle, which will make it 20 pixels wide, and then how tall, will make it 100 pixels tall. So we got a little skyscraper down there. So one building, not impressive for a city. Let's add another building. So we'll move this one over 40 pixels, maybe more, 60 pixels. We don't want to make it as tall because that'd be weird if we have these two like perfectly, same size buildings here. I gotta move it down more now. And we'll make it a little wider. We got a couple of buildings down there that we drew with a rectangle. So let's say we want to make it look like the UFO is shooting a laser at the buildings. Well, lasers usually look like lines, like straight lines. So we have a line function, and it takes in 4 parameters. But this time, it takes in the starting point of your line, so the x and y where it's going to start. So I want it to start just below the UFO, and I know that this UFO is about 150 pixels over and probably like, I don't know, 200 pixels down, maybe 180 pixels down. So I'll do 150, 180 as a starting point, and then I want it to end like somewhere near the top of this building. So I'll say that's like a 70 pixels over and then like 300 pixels down. All right, so it looks like the UFO is shooting a laser at the building. Pretty cool. Another function that is pretty useful is setting the background, and using Khan Academy here, they have a nice little color scrubber. We can set a deep night here, deep purpley night. All right, and so notice I drew the background up at the top. Now remember from the last video, the reason you would want to do that is because JavaScript is going to load everything in order, just like everything else a computer does, just on down the line. So if I would have drawn the background down here, it would have drawn all this stuff, then drew the background last over everything. Not cool. So we're going to undo that, put the background back where it's supposed to be. All right, so one more cool function for this video is everything is kind of, we change the background color, but this is all basic black and white shapes. So there's another function that we can use, which is the fill function. And fill function, we have to be very, very careful with it because watch what will happen. Let's say I put the fill function up here. And I'll change the color to, I want the UFO to be like some sort of spacey gray. Well, that's cool. Look at it. it filled in every part of the UFO that gray, and it made the buildings that gray. So what happened is it was going in order, read the background, made the background, said, hey, I'm going to fill things with this color. This is RGB, red, green, blue. Remember way back, all right? And then after it said, okay, I'm going to fill whatever I see with this color, it saw all these shapes, and so filled them all with that color. Notice it did not fill the line. That's something different to change the line color. So what we have to do if we want to make these things different colors is we have to, above the shape that we want to color, change the fill function. Let's say I want that up there to be like a white dome on the UFO. So I had to put a fill right above UFO top. So JavaScript saw the fill, said, okay, I'm going to fill every shape I see with this color. So it filled the ellipse, filled. And then it saw a new fill. It said, okay, well now whatever I see, I'm going to fill with this color. So it filled the rest. So if I want these buildings to be a different color than that, right before my buildings, I will have to do yet another fill. Change their color. Pretty cool. Now we got a basic little scene going on here. So now, just to see what it could look like, my laser beam stayed, so we're going to have to learn how to get rid of that. But we got a nice little animation here using some functions, different shapes, filling them, using a variable, and then making sure that we comment so we know what everything is when we come back a week from now, trying to interpret our own code. All right, on to the next one.